With constant dealer markups and artificial price increases for full-size pickup trucks, many people have decided to just go all in and get a heavy-duty one. Out of the holy trinity, the Chevrolet Silverado HD presents itself as a great balance between the Ram 2500/3500 and the Ford Super Duty. However, in actuality, because of its general-purpose nature, the Silverado HD has a lot of issues under its skin, and some of them might be a huge deal for you. So let's not waste any time and delve deep into the 4 reasons why you should not buy the Chevrolet Silverado HD. Number 4. Mediocre towing capacity. Now, it's safe to say that nobody who buys a heavy-duty pickup truck buys it because they're looking for a measly poser city truck. They're looking for a workhorse that can kickstart the world if it ever stops spinning, and don't get us wrong, the Silverado HD is pretty good in this regard. The 6.6-liter diesel variation, which is the torquiest one on offer, could tow up to a whopping 36,000 pounds. The gasoline version has a maximum towing capacity of 17,400 pounds, which isn't half bad either. However, the problem arises once you start comparing the Silverado HD with its direct competitors. The Ford Super Duty, which is the king of the segment in this regard, can tow up to 40,000 pounds with a diesel, which is 4,000 pounds more than the Silverado. Now that isn't a small difference, is it? In addition, the gasoline version can tow near as makes no difference 21,000 pounds, which is more than 3,500 pounds more than what the Silverado does. But what about Ram's heavy-duty offering? It surely beats it out, right? Well, no, it doesn't. You see, even the Ram 2500/3500 beats out the Silverado HD in terms of towing capacity. You see, the diesel version can tow up to 37,000 pounds, which is marginally more than the Silverado. The gas version can tow a little more than 19,000 pounds, which is a drastic improvement over the Silverado. The payload capacity is more or less the same amongst all of the pickup trucks in this segment, ranging from 7,500 to 8,000 pounds max. So you won't be getting any drastic differences here. The Silverado is the weakest of the American trio, coming in at a little more than 7,400 pounds max, which is around 100 pounds less than what Ram is offering and 600 pounds less than the Ford Super Duty. However, realistically, you'll never fill your bed up. Still, it is extremely shocking to see such domination from its rivals in terms of towing capacity, especially compared to Ram's offering, since it is much more comfortable than the Silverado. In fact, that brings us to the next point of today's video. Number 3. It isn't particularly comfortable. One of the biggest shockers concerning the Silverado HD is how stiff it can be. Now, honestly, this is a heavy-duty pickup truck with a solid rear axle and leaf springs. We don't expect it to be a Rolls-Royce in this regard. However, we did expect it to be a tad softer than it actually is. No, scrap that. We expected it to be more concentrated than it is. You see, the entire truck is very conflicted when it comes down to the driving experience. The steering is very soft and very vague, while the suspension tends to be a tad crashier than needed. It is very close to the Ford Super Duty, which isn't good news, as the Super Duty has shown us that it is primarily a workhorse truck, and everything has been subordinated to make it the absolute best of the best in that regard. That said, the Silverado HD has a noticeably more opulent, more ergonomic, more modern, and better built cabin than the Super Duty, which is something that a lot of you will care about. And the seats are bolstered a bit better, making them a bit more comfortable than what you'd get with the Super Duty. However, in that case, the heavy-duty Ram presents itself as an even better offer, as it offers by far the best truck cabin currently available on the market, with a leather dashboard, aluminum trim, and real wood accents being optional, making it a truly pleasant place to sit in. The Silverado, as good as it gets, simply cannot compete with the Ram, which is a horrible thing to hear, as the Silverado HD starts a bit higher than the Ram in terms of entry-level pricing. Speaking of, number 2. Lower-end models are severely under-equipped. You see, one would expect the Silverado HD's entry-level versions to be back to the brim with standard features, to compensate for the high price and the relative mediocreness of the truck that we previously shown you. However, not only is this not the case, but the Silverado HD might be amongst the worst trucks in this regard. You see, compared to the Ford Super Duty, you don't get a whole lot with the Silverado HD. In fact, you don't even get front and rear parking sensors as standard, and you'll have to pay extra for them, which is frankly unacceptable at this price range and for a truck of this size. That said, you do get a pretty nice 7-inch infotainment screen that is paired with a fully digital gauge cluster, which is very nice to see in an entry-level pickup truck. However, it frankly isn't enough, concerning the fact that you practically won't be needing it, as a bunch of its features are optional. Plus, apart from a more modern infotainment screen and an admittedly far more stylish dashboard, you don't get a lot of stuff in terms of quality. The interior is filled with scratchy plastics, the seats are very basic, and there's a lot of stuff left to be desired by owners that make you question if the Silverado HD's entry-level models are worth it. This is especially amplified when compared with the heavy-duty Ram's base model, which comes equipped with all kinds of standard tech features, all while offering a far better built interior. Sure, you don't get a digital gauge cluster with a RAM, and the 5-inch infotainment screen used in the base model is laughable, but entry-level trims are designed to be workhorses, not show-offs. And besides, the RAM is getting redesigned most likely this year, which means that a larger screen will also be available as standard on it, all while also offering heaps of other features as standard. Now sure, once you get up to the higher spec model, the Chevy Silverado HD kicks the Super Duty's butt, as it offers a better built interior with far more soft touch plastics and generally more modern features. However, it still lags behind the Ram, which reigns supreme in terms of equipment and especially quality, as its higher echelons are what one thinks of when imagining the word opulence. Honestly, we believe that Chevy is charging this much for the base model Silverado because it is admittedly the most modern pickup truck in its segment. However, that still doesn't justify it being more expensive than all other trucks on the market, which brings us to the final point of our video. Number 1. It is the worst value for money amongst its peers. Simply put, the Silverado HD isn't as good of a value as its peers. For a $47,500 base, you'd expect a far more competent vehicle than this one, especially because the Ford Super Duty knocks it out of the park in terms of capability. And then, once you start climbing up the ladder, Ram's truck begins beating upon the Silverado because it offers both a better interior as well as slightly better capabilities, not to mention that it is also more comfortable than the Silverado. What the Silverado has going for it is its modern interior and exterior design and a middle-of-the-road driving experience. However, since Ram beats it out in every possible way except the modernity part, we'd have to say that it simply doesn't offer enough to be a solid competitor to its Stellantis rival. Sure, it's a viable choice to the Super Duty. However, why would you even indulge in buying the Silverado if the Ram is already available at the same price range? It's lost on us. Now, even with this in mind, we have to say that the Silverado HD isn't a bad proposition per se. None of the heavy-duty trucks are. All these faults are very marginal to say the least, and everything might fall upon your personal preference. However, we do have to say that Ram does offer an objectively better truck, if a little dated on the eye. We'd say that despite it being less capable than the Super Duty, it offers a noticeably more pleasant driving experience, which is why we'd rank it neck to neck with it. All in all, despite its issues, the Chevy Silverado HD is a pretty good truck in the end, but the Ram is just a little bit better than it in almost every aspect. And that brings us to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.